right. Hello and welcome to Court of the Rings here on twitch.tv/LocherStream. Thank you so much for being here today. We've got a really jam-packed information show for you here today. So we're going to be talking to Orion in just a little bit about some damage and mitigation changes and a bit more about what he's working on. A little bit later on, I'm going to be on Bull Roar showing off the new Avatar update, and I think we're even going to poke our head into the new raid. I'm going to be on an admin, so I won't be actually, say, doing the combat and running the raid, but I'll show you the space, and you can watch a whole bunch of enemies beat up on Cordovan, the admin character. So that's what we're going to do here today. Thanks so much for being here. And let me unmute and introduce my guest here. We have got Orion with us. How you doing?
I'm good. It's been an eventful week.
It has. It's been busy.
It has been busy.
We
But it's always good to join with the players.
we were you couldn't really see the chaos behind the scenes so much, but it took some work getting Bull Roar out this week. So yeah,
Yes, it did.
yeah.
Yes, it did.
But we're not so much here to talk about Bull Roar, more along the lines of the damage and mitigation work that we've been doing really since update 35. So, well, even before that, really. But with update 35 came some damage and mitigation changes, and we've made some adjustments to that in update 35.0.1. And I know that we had some questions from the community, so we thought we'd have Orion visit us here today and just kind of talk a little bit about it. So, bring us back a little bit. What do we have available to us now? What are we doing that we weren't doing earlier regarding damage and mitigation?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. I know this probably seems a little bit strange to players who have been with us for the past several years, but one of the things that we're trying to focus on is getting the game back to a point where we can start presenting content and systems in a way that is not as punishing as it has been. And when I say that, what I mean is bosses not completely going through and just completely obliviating or ignoring your mitigations, making it so that your BPE actually has some kind of a real uh, a real a real reason for being there, right? Rather than having to just avoid it all the time in order to put threat against you, or
Just for
to make it
those
so.
who don't know the acronyms, BPE is
Oh,
block,
sorry,
parry,
BB.
evade.
Yeah,
Yeah,
block, rain, evade. Any of the evasion skills, anything
yeah.
that makes it so that you can reduce some of the incoming damage that you're taking. Uh, that is one of the fundamental things that we sat down and looked at when the team got a little larger last year was how can we start, or how can we address the fact that we've had to reduce a lot of the gameplay that has existed because the team was so small and just needed to be able to get done what needed to
Yeah.
get done. And one of the things that we've been able to do is work with one of our engineers to really focus on getting these things to work out. And the way that we wanted to approach this, and the reason we wanted to approach this, is manifold. Uh, One, we know that players are capped out on nearly every mitigation, on everything for their evasions. So anything that reduces the incoming damage. We know that there are points where you can completely ignore like specific types of damage, be it shadow, be it whatever. There are points where you are just safe 100% of the time, and that does not necessarily breed good gameplay. We also know that there are a lot of these stacking buffs that exist that are making it more and more difficult for our content teams to be able to put in difficulties for you, or to make things that are that have counterplay for your class. Um, so we wanted to take a good portion of this year and start addressing some of those. And we started obviously with power. Um, Power has not been super necessary for a long time. Uh, so we wanted to take a look at that and see if we could actually bring it back into something that we could itemize for, right? Itemization is something that we were getting into a lot of trouble with because, again, being at the level cap for as long as many players have and not having room to really grow and expand in a wider way, so it means that we just kind of go vertical. We
Yeah.
want to get away from players just having to sit back and say, "Oh, I'm going to get nothing but vitality essences." So the idea was power would start things off, and then mastery would become the next piece, which would turn into a competing statistic. Um, Over the course of the year, our plan is to start looking at mitigations. and start imposing soft and hard caps so that there are hard caps that you can reach and then soft caps that will move beyond there. And eventually we'll start to make it so that some of our boss monsters are able and capable of defeating your hard caps so that your soft caps actually have a real purpose for being there. So you'll always want to be increasing your soft cap, even if you get to your hard caps. This is so that we can start building the content back to the point where there's counterplay, there are reasons for your buffing, and gives us more ability to sit back as a systems team and start to do what we really should be doing, which is collecting all of that information and making it so that the buffs and debuffs that are available to all the players and all of the different itemization paths have an easier way for us to track and adjust.
And we could
Uh,
do that in some ways in real time. We saw that with update 35.0.1. We had gone out with some changes that, were perhaps a little too challenging in some cases. And so we were able to actually roll that back in some ways in real time.
yeah, so one of the uh, so a few things there, right? When we first launched 35, a lot of the feedback that we were seeing in game, and we were playing along with you, uh, we were seeing that there were a lot of reports of players that were just breezing through the new instances. In fact, I had seen a few posts on my server where players had said, "Oh yeah, I did the new 3-man by myself in about 20 minutes." And there was another report that there was a 3-man group that went through the new 6-man in about 20 minutes. And I was like, oh wow, maybe we overtuned the way that mastery was actually handled.
Yeah.
So we wanted to say, all right, we want to take that step back and make sure that we had made things more difficult than they should have been. And we found a couple of bugs along the way that we knew we weren't going to be able to fix without an actual update, because we needed to get more testing in on them. So we made I don't want to call it a snap decision, but we made a decision uh, to make adjustments to the mitigations and to the health of the actual monsters. And we were a little overzealous in the way that we did it. For that, clearly we apologized. We looked at the feedback that we were getting after that initial push for 3501. Uh, Sadly, it was right before the holiday, but at the same time, because of the changes that we've made, we now have the ability to tweak things clearly in a much faster fashion. We don't have to take the worlds down. We don't have to uh, release a brand new build in order to put out a lot of these changes. We can get some of these things in real time so that we can make adjustments and find where that true balance needs to be, which is, I personally think, fantastic for the game overall, because it's going to give us the ability to tune and get to where we expect the game to be from an experiential standpoint moving forward. And to be clear, the main goal of the mastery changes was not to make it easier overall, it's to make it more balanced overall. And when we made the adjustments to the morale and mitigations, our focus really was wanted to be more on the landscape, where landscape has become really trivial for most players.
Yeah.
Um, no, we're not
I
trying to
mean,
say
yeah,
we want to make
I
it
think
more
that's always been
difficult.
a bit of a design, not
It
goal
is.
necessarily, but we're not really intending for the landscape to be a challenging area. Although we found that to be the case, maybe at various times, like when we first debuted Mordor, people had some trouble on the landscape. But
Yeah, and there will always be points, especially when we move from one level cap to another, where some of the landscape becomes more difficult for you to actually overcome until you get the gear that actually would bring you through that space. And our goal is not, I mean, our objectives are not to make it so that the landscape is too difficult. We just knew that with the mastery changes, that a lot of the trivial existing landscape had become even more trivialized. So we wanted to make that adjustment. And it ended up being much worse than we expected at the top. So we said, okay, we got to pull this back, and we'll be tweaking things to get them to the exact point that we would want them to be at, so that uh, you know Players who are in progression rating are still capable of getting to where they need to be, and those experiences still feel very good for them. And anybody who's actually going through and playing the tier difficulties are able to get through the instances that they're trying to as well.
So where do we want it to be at? Do we? I mean, it sounds like this is a cloud more than a point on a map that we're trying to hit.
Yeah, so where we want it to be is fun. That's the biggest thing, right? And my fun is not necessarily the same fun as your fun, right? And your fun is not necessarily the same as someone who would prefer to spend the majority of their time in the Shire delivering pies or delivering mail. So we want it to be engaging for everyone as best we can, which is why we have so many tiered systems inside of the game. And I think that we're getting closer and closer to having that equity for all of the different player types that are out there. We're not going to be perfect. We're going to make missteps, and when we do, we will say we're sorry, we made a misstep, and we'll fix it. Like that's really the ultimate goal, is that we are here to continue making a fun experience for everyone who plays the game.
Yeah. So what can we expect here with update 35.1 and maybe a little beyond that as well?
Well, 35.1 is our anniversary patch, right? So that's the big thing that's coming up. Additionally, obviously, the raid is going to be opening up. And there are some adjustments for items that we're missing that should be in, I believe. And there are just a few more bugs that are being really addressed for 35.1. But I think 35.1 is going to be a welcome addition for a lot of our end game players who have been looking for something more than uh, I'm just going to call it HH, for the past a year and a half at this point, right?
Yeah, 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 absolutely. All right, so uh, I don't know. Let me go see if we have some questions from chat. This might be a good opportunity to ask some questions about what we just talked about, mitigation and
Or
damage in
anything.
chat. Yeah,
Yeah,
or anything. We can
or
go
anything.
into some of the or anything, but let's see. All right, so someone's saying two good longer boss fights would be way more exciting for 6 person and 3 person mechanics that stop you just blasting through. So I think they're basically just saying that obviously this content's about more than just damage and mitigation as well. But
Yeah, yeah, and that actually is something that we're hoping to be able to return to. Some of my favorite instances inside of the game really, I mean, obviously I'm a little biased because of where they were in time and everything, but I really liked a lot of the Maria instances where the mechanics inside of the space kind of really drove the way that you had to play. It wasn't always just roll in, tank and spank. It was more of a puzzle based, or a you had to progress in a very correct manner, or you were punished for the things that you did, and you had to learn the mechanics of most of the fights. We I don't think we've really gotten away from that so much as it's been more difficult because of the way that the game had developed for the past several years. Um, where unfortunately we got to a point where the arms race between what we gave to players and what we could give to the monster side was not as easy to adjust, and we're getting back to the point where that is much easier to adjust.
all right, let's move on to some of the other questions. I see actually quite a few in chat that are curious about some of the other things that we've talked about in our working on. So first up, crafting. Can you tell us what's up with the crafting work?
Sure. So the crafting work has been moving along. On the back end, we are focusing on getting the professions broken out from the vocations, so that professions will have, you'll be able to choose three professions. Uh, and if you currently have a vocation, you'll have those three professions. We won't take them away from you. You will be able to untrain them if you want to take something new. And we're looking at providing a fourth profession that you'd be able to purchase after that. Uh, Beyond that, we're also looking. We put up a feedback thread that was a great call response to the player base, and the player base gave us a lot of amazing feedback. They told us roundly some of the things they didn't want to see. They gave us some really good ideas on things that we can actually do improvements on. And what we're looking to do now is find ways that we can accommodate a lot of the requests that continues to come in for I don't want to say even advanced crafting, just for crafting in general. Um, so we're really focused on making it so that crafting actually is part of and an imperative part of the advancement inside of the next major release, the next expansion.
All right.
So we'll be working through that over the course of the year to make sure that uh, we've got new ideas, new obviously new recipes, and probably new interactions between the crafting professions, so that there's more of a need to actually have a wider spread of friends and or just skills available to you, so that you can craft some of the higher end items that are going to be put out there.
So we haven't given a release date, but we are looking at this year, later this year.
The crafting changes will happen over the course of the year. Yeah, it's not going to be it's not going to be like an all at once thing. There will be changes that happen incrementally throughout the year, but the biggest amount of change will be alongside uh, the the release of the expansion.
All right. So, what about the classwork? I know we've got some ambitious plans to really touch every class, and we did a. Whoops, I actually popped out. We did a bunch in update 35 here, but players are clearly excited. Well, what about my class? What about the rest of the classes? When? When do we know?
Yeah, it's a good question. I had originally planned to get Guardian done for the next release, U36. Um, but the feedback that I've been getting has made me take a step back and try to reevaluate exactly what it is the Guardians are looking for. Um, at this point, I'm kind of on the fence of whether or not we're going to be turning the utility, whether we're going to be turning the yellow line to utility, which would just augment the blue line and the red line. So there are some steps that we're taking to make sure that we
I'm
don't.
sorry, I'm going to stop you. I think
Yeah, sure.
you broke up there briefly, right
Oh,
as you were saying the point. So, what were you saying about yellow line?
oh. Right now the yellow line is a speckable line, and one of the considerations that's still out there is that we would make it a utility line. We're kind of on the bubble of exactly what we're going to do with that still, because the feedback that we've been getting from players is one where some players really want to keep it, some players wouldn't mind seeing it as a utility. So that's the main decision that we have to make. Um, Hunter, I feel very comfortable saying that when I get around to making adjustments to Hunter, that the yellow line will become a utility line for Hunter. Um, when these are going to happen, it will be before the expansion, most definitely. They will not happen after the expansion. The timeline is still not exactly set, but we also are looking at Bjorning. We're also looking at well, every class is actually getting looked at this point.
And what about
Um,
the ones that we did some pretty extensive work on for update 35? Are we going to do yet a further pass, maybe on Captain, Warden, any of that sort of thing, or
I,
do we
I,
feel
I,
pretty comfortable with it?
I think the comfort level is there right now, and I think we need to let players actually tinker with the changes that have been made before we would make any more adjustments. At this point, I don't think we're planning on doing any other major changes. What we'll do is clean up anything that is still broken uh, but anything that's still bugged from the release, and address any considerable concerns that continue to come in now that we've made those changes.
Eros in chat is saying, when do we anticipate being able to give more info on possible crafting changes? I would point out that we have a early discussion thread that outlines in general what we're planning to do already. You can find that over on the Lotra forums. But do you any sense of when we might be ready for a preview or something like that?
So a lot of that hinges on when we get the vocations broken out, right? So once we have that, that's the core of what we need to be able to do. Um, that is going to really inform a lot of the other changes that we would like to make. One of the things that I can say with certainty is that uh, we know that we need to address the essence issue. We would really love to be able to update the way that traceries are actually integrated into the crafting system, specifically the words of craft. There's a reason why they're called words of craft, and we want to make sure that we address that moving. There are the other changes are not going to be, I don't say they're not going to be as significant. They will be significant, but a lot of it is just making sure that crafting has a role uh, moving forward for each of the different professions that exist. Um, with the introduction of LI ages ago, we did some pretty significant harm to weaponsmith, and there hasn't really been a lot of focus to figure out ways to address that. And I think one of the things we're trying to do is find a way to bring weaponsmith specifically back into that. Um, so there will be reasons for and ways for you to get gear that is commensurate with the gear that you're going to need in order to get into the different instance spaces and increased place spaces. Certainly at endgame. Over time, we hope to start moving some of those changes back so that they affect lower levels. But our focus is really between the 100 to next level cap for the immediate future by the end.
All right. On the subject of or anything related to chicken content, are we planning to fix an issue that cropped up during April 1st when we re-brought back the thing where people who had either run it or at least been delivered the deed way back in the day weren't able to run the event?
Sure. So full transparency here. That was a complete whim. If Cord, I think you were there when I suggested it in
Yep.
one of our team meetings and said, "Hey, I made this event way back when." So we overlooked a few things, and it was more that we figured we don't have a ton of time to get this out. We were probably just going to do a post or something, like most other games, and then I said, I can fix this really quickly.
Yeah.
The initial version of that quest, or that yeah, that quest uh, was doomed from the beginning because it was only one spot that you could spawn in the Edmores, and the monster players camped it and turned it into a server crashing event, which was awful. So we fixed that for this. Um, but we've looked at that and we looked at the actual way that players responded this year, and we've got plans.
Yeah.
And yes, there you will be able to replay it if you have played it before. And there may be even a little more that goes along next time.
Cool. Cool. All right. Some of the let me just some of the other questions I saw. Let me see. There was a question about specifically why we're putting a pet behind a tier 2 completion of the new raid. You weren't directly involved in the loot in this. I don't know if you can speak to that, but in general, I would say
I
it's fair to say that we get that there's a lot of hardcore raiders out there who like pets, and there are some who don't maybe find pets that valuable. And just because something exists in one space doesn't mean it's like a trend or anything like that. So
Yeah, I mean, it's so incentivization is one of those things that is it has to be very broad, right? We have to try to address the breadth of players that we have, and I think whether whether everyone believes this or not, there are hardcore raiders or more hardline raiders actually really like to collect the pets, and putting one in there is just kind of something a little different where there's now a pet out there. I did want to go back to crafting real quick.
oh, sure, sure, yeah,
Sorry, no, this was my fault because it just kind of slipped my mind. One of the things that was suggested inside of the thread for the future is potentially adding rotating events that would exist inside of the game world for you to participate in, that would be used to level up your characters uh, for their crafting, but also be giving you the ability to compete against, say, players who are much higher level than you. So what that would basically entail is the creation of these events that would allow you to participate in competitive matches against other players. And it wouldn't matter what level your crafting was at. It wouldn't matter what level the player is at. It would be a competitive match in a controlled space um, that would enable you to say, go to a lumberyard, right? And in the lumberyard, you'd be able to get the event, and the event would allow you to compete in three categories of, say, chopping wood, tanning hides, and caber running, running with cabers, or throwing cabers, something along those
Okay.
lines. So it
So
mimics
what's a
like a real
caper?
world log. That's a giant whittled log that you pick up and you distance.
Okay, I was
Right.
thinking some kind of, I don't know why I was thinking like some kind of fungus or mushroom or food
Oh no,
product,
no!
but yeah.
It's actually used in a lot of the strongman and lumberjack competitions in throughout the world. So it's
Okay.
just one of these things that that is a wacky idea that I've had, obviously. But the the goal would be for you to engage in these, and then there would be a prize wall set up that you could earn you could earn rewards over time.
Now, was this
Uh,
the siege stuff you were hinting about on the
oh,
forums, or is that different?
this is not
This is
Siege.
different. Okay.
Siege is PvMP. But no, the crafting portion would really be the crafting events would really be encapsulated events that would be on a rotating basis at different points throughout the world, and all professions, whether they're gathering or output production um, professions, would have something for them to do that would give you experience along that line, and also make it so that it's a competitive environment against. Siege
Oh,
is a little
yeah, okay.
different, yeah.
Yeah, that's so. I suppose we could talk a little bit about that. That's something that you had put some brainstorming ideas really on the PVMP forums within the past week or so, right?
Yeah, so Siege was mentioned earlier this year as something that we were looking at doing. And it's something that I had always wanted to get into PvMP. And one thing that we've seen is that the number of NPCs that are located at certain locations in the Etmors definitely drags down or is an impediment for our servers to actually really perform the way that they're supposed to. So we're looking for ways that we can start reducing a lot of that. So one of those ways is to cull as many of the defenders at the main towers as possible. So the towers of Lugazag and Tirithra. So we want to reduce that number, but we want to make it so that it's not just an easy thing to run inside of the building and that are there to take control of said tower. So the idea is that you'll be able to build up a defense, and that defense would include building a door at the entrance and a door at the top, so that you would make it so that you can't just run in. Uh, whichever side controls the tower at that point can move freely in through the doors uh, and defend, but they can't attack through the doors because that would not be fair. So you'd actually have to come out to fight. At the same time, the attackers would then have the siege on the outside to break down the doors and fire on the defenders who are inside. The defenders on the inside are able to put ballista up on the parapets to fire down on the enemy siege materials or siege weapons and the enemy combatants who are below. And then you have the battering rams that are used to break, sorry, the doors that are constructed on the inside. And there will be quests to enhance the doors to make them stronger and stronger and stronger. And it's basically meant to control the number of NPCs or active NPC AI that are around those locations, and turn it more into a uh, player driven experience rather than a purely PVE style experience that we've had for a very long time. So it's kind of a way to try to shake things up and see how it goes. And if it works, maybe we'll move this into Tallest Garden at some point. But initially, it's going to be focused um, on the two towers that are out in the Etmors, Tirithra and Lugazag. And then that should end up being available for the first bull roars for U36.
All right. Let's see. We have a bunch of questions. I think that maybe you're working on a little bit less, but I guess I'll ask it. Are you aware? I'm trying to find the question now. Sorry. We had where are the Guardian, Champion, and Beorning class items coming? When? Before or with the new raid? Any words on this by any chance in this stream? Neither of us are working on itemization directly, is my right?
No, I actually
Oh,
I
okay.
do. I do
Okay.
handle some of that. Yeah.
Okay.
So we know it was an oversight. And if I recall correctly, uh, there are additions. I'm just checking with the team right now to make sure that we got that stuff in. So like,
Yeah.
if you give me 2 more minutes, I can definitely give you an answer.
Okay.
But I know that there were omissions that we had when we pushed 35 live, and we've been trying to address it in the background. So we've been working on it, and I believe that we did get them in time for the 35.1 release.
All right. We have a question about the 64-bit servers. I've seen a question about how's the launcher update happening. Both of those things are being worked on. I don't personally have a timetable I could share with you now. It's one of those things that as it progresses and gets checked out and gets ready to go live, eventually it will, but we don't have a necessary, like, it'll be this update and you can tell everyone about it yet. It's just, we're just not there yet.
Yeah,
So,
we're not there on that one.
yeah. All right. I don't think we're in a position to really talk about what we'll be bringing with King's Gondor in terms of content. I don't think we can really bring that one up. Any thought about working on classic instances of like Moria and CD? I'm not quite sure what CD is asking about.
That's the original Karn Doom.
Okay.
Are there thoughts on? Uh, we are actively looking at ways that we can bring the delving system into older content. I believe that the next areas that we're looking at are, if I recall correctly, we're discussing Numinos and the Great Barrow.
Okay.
The difficulty with Moria and the original Karn Doom is that the instances there were never built for scaling. So we would have to go through and set them up to scale correctly first before we'd be able to make any other changes. Whether or not that's something we will be able to get to, it's not a current high priority, but it is something I think that some of us would really like to be able to adjust because we do have a lot of really excellent instances that exist throughout the game that unfortunately just aren't played as much anymore on the traditional live servers. They may be used in legendary servers because of the end game there, or they were the end game there for quite a while. But those have never really been adjusted. Should be. So in order to do that, we would have to take the time to go back and adjust those for scale. And it's not a high priority on the agenda, but it is something that I would like. I personally would love to be able to stare uh, back up to a scalable set because it was one of my favorite instances to develop way back in the day.
Let me ask a tough design question here. We have Lils from Laurelin saying, any plans to, quote, remove kiting as a viable boss killing strategy? I imagine kiting is one of those things that is a fairly tricky thing to deal with in the design space.
So I think I know what this is in reference to. There's a particular rat king that it seems to be the preferred method is to kite the rat king all over the place. Um, yeah, I don't think that's really something that we want to make a standard way of defeating a boss fight. Uh, but it's more of a question of getting the mechanics down to the point where there are other variants and other options that we have available. And it's always going to be a little bit tough, I think, uh, because of just the way that players end up playing the game. They seem to fall back on those strategies. So it's incumbent upon us as designers and developers to find ways to discourage that. And sometimes that might end up being more punishing than you really want to see. But uh, I would think that in the future you might see things that are more movement based. That if you are moving around, there are some consequences, so that the mechanics can adjust for the kiting strategy. The other thing that I think we're really trying to focus with the change to statistics is giving the content developers who work on instances the ability to use greater mechanic sets, rather than just making it that this thing is really hard unless you're running away from it the whole time.
All right. Um, Someone's been asking a fair number of times, so let's see if we have an answer. Will there be a fix for the captain's inability to use words of courage on themselves in standalone stance, or is it intentional? Do you know about that one?
I can check. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah. At our home saying puddles the solution to everything.
No, and no, and look, I've been playing through um a lot of the end game content now, and it's we use a lot of puddles. We really do. And we need to start finding different mechanics because it's one thing to use that at specific points. It's another thing to make it like the primary way that we deal a lot of damage to a player. So we do need to start executing a little differently on the way that we do things.
All right, well, we have a lot more to get to here, so I don't want to take the whole
Sure.
show just with you. Is there anything else you wanted to mention before we move on to other parts of the preview?
No, not really. I mean, there's a lot coming still, and U36 is being worked on pretty significantly right now. So it's going to be an interesting half year.
All right.
Oh, anniversary next week,
Yeah,
right?
I'll be talking about that, and I'm actually going to be
Anniversary.
showing off the anniversary items here in just a little
Oh,
bit. That's one of the things
very nice.
I'm going to do before the end of the show. But let me pop my admin back to visibility here so we can do that. All right. Well, hey, I really appreciate you joining me here today. We'll have you on in future weeks here as well, Orion. So thank you for being here, and hope you have a great day.
Thanks for having me. See you
All right.
later.
Let me remove your stream element quick before I do that. There we go. And end the call. All right. So we're back. I'm going to get to a couple more bits of chat that I saw before I get to the rest of the preview here. There was a few things that just didn't seem to make sense to discuss in this section. I will have a lot more information about the character customization here in just a little bit, but to answer your question, can we make hair have multiple colors at once? The answer is no. That's not something that's being supported with the current Avatar update. I have a question about I'm a content creator and love the game. Is there an area I could look at for improvement in videos? I would need a little bit more information about what you're asking about. Are you looking to improve your own stream quality? Are you looking to what kind of improvement in videos do you need to are you looking to do, and is it something we can deal with? Perhaps, maybe. I've got a question about. I answered as to when on more info on crafting changes as we get closer to it. Talked about kiting. When will the Avatar update go live? It is set to go live with update 35.1 here. We have a question about what sort of work we might do with it in the future. I can save more discussion on that until later, but we are intending to do further work. No timetable for it. Expect it to take a while. So it's not something you'll be seeing, say, in the next update or update after that, most likely. Any work on lag? Yeah, we've got a ton of work that's been happening related to game performance and lag, and we'll be doing a whole lot more work in the coming updates. We do have some performance work in place, in addition to, say, the launcher and client work that's happening as well. I don't have a question about when we might make reputation acceleration tokens viable in other ways. I know that you used to very, 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 very easily get them in with your massive piles of marks, but that that is something that we chose to no longer do. I have a question that's not really a question. It's more of a criticism from Daddy John saying there's been a A lot of discussion about certain Discord servers being used to gather information. Why aren't forums being used, or why not have an official Lotro Discord server? There's really 3 points there. First off, it is not actually true that we aren't using the forums. We use the forums a lot. It is true that during a specific class update, we had a couple of developers who were getting quality feedback from multiple sources, and there were a couple people on the forums who got really upset by that because they felt that the discussion needed to happen more frequently on their location rather than through other locations. But I can tell you that that's not how it works, nor how it will work. We'll continue to very robustly post on the forums, and in addition to other places that we post. I've seen, like, for example, there's 2 or 3 people in particular that are on the forums just, like, hammering frequently the idea that developers are not allowed to go to maybe a streamer's Discord or something and talk to people there, or if they do, every word they say must also be put in text format on the forums. And I can tell you that's not going to happen. Developers are going to get feedback from multiple sources, and there are places sometimes where they would prefer to get feedback other than maybe where you would like them to get feedback, which is, specifically you on the forums. But we'll continue to post frequently on the forums, like we have been, like we always have, like we will, like we always will. But if your concern is, I don't want a developer to post in someone's Discord, then the answer is no. That's sorry. But we don't actually, it's never actually been true that devs only post in this Discord or whatever. It's like, no, there was at most 2 or 3 devs that posted for frequently, a lot of posts, for a couple months there in a specific Discord for a specific reason. But the team doesn't post there. There's only a couple members of the team. And we post all over the place. Social media, Discord, forums, private server chat, Palantir, Bullroar, beyond. I mean, there's a million ways to get feedback, which is how it should be. And so this kind of idea that only the forums, never going to happen. It shouldn't happen. It would be a bad idea. All right, so I am going to show off some new bits from the anniversary. So we have got our anniversary event kicking off next week, most likely. Stay tuned for downtime and more, but it's on the schedule. It's starting at 10 a.m. on the 20th. And so we've got new rewards for that as well, and I am going to put that up on a cosmetic slot, and let's take a look, huh? So we have got the Cloak of Illumination, and the Boots of Illumination, the Wrist Guard. Actually, I don't think that's not new. The Cap of Illumination. Well, actually, then we'll double check that. Where did I put it? Where did I put it? I literally just... Here we go. All right. Yeah, that one is not part of it. So, shoulder guards. The jacket. There we go. Then we have a selection gift box for it as well. But let me just for now move this over to the dude so you can take a look at the new outfit. We have got an offhand walking staff. I don't know if I can really... Yeah, there we go. And then there's a lore master version of it that this particular class can't take. Fireworks laden goat. Where did I put that goat? Here it is. Oh, that's the anniversary celebration goat. This is one of the new cosmetic pets here with next week's update. And I must already have the fireworks laden goat, but I didn't put it in my skill set. So let me do that real quick. Yeah, here we go. So the fireworks laden goat is a mount, the other one is a pet. And here we go. Take a look at that while I look at chat here real quick. How is it PvP if you are one-shotting chickens? Well, this was, kind of a PvP-associated event. I don't think it's intended to necessarily challenge the mettle of PvMP players. It's a fun event. But the idea is that it helps introduce people to the arena as well who might not otherwise engage in that area. And be like, oh yeah, it was real fun. Do I think PvMP will ever see a new Monster Play class? Yeah. I don't know when that would be. I haven't heard of any specific plans to do it. But sure, I would imagine at some point that could happen. Nothing to announce related to a wider UI update. Ooh, someone in chat dislikes Delvings. Sorry that you don't like that content. If we're going to make sort of big holistic changes to the loot system, not that I've not heard of any plans for us to do that. I recognize some people like the current loot system, some don't. But I have not heard of any plans to adjust it here. Someone needs to fix their voice gate. I've been having problems with this computer. I'm sorry if it's a mess. I don't know the answer to your question, Gothborn. It sounds like we may have a messaging issue with the premium ingredients crate. If it's not working as intended, we'll have to look into it. But I am not personally aware of that bug. Little Redhead, I am aware of that one poor stable master and the drenched horse. I have raised it up as a post-haste let's fix it issue. I'm hoping that we can get that adjusted in the future. We have a horse by the far-ranging stable master in Rivendell who is just constantly drenching the mount there, and it's kind of obnoxious. Are we getting all races eventually going? Okay, well, everyone wants to talk about character updates, so let me get through the rest of the anniversary stuff here in a second. And see where we can go. Heard some rumors of people getting forum bans for posts in a certain Discord. Can I comment on it? Yes, that is absolutely not true. We did have a couple of people who planned a coordinated attack on the forums late last night from a Discord. And I happened to be in that Discord watching them plan the attack in real time. And then when they engaged with the attack on the forums, I was able to take care of it according to the forum rules. And they got kind of big mad about it. But no. Why don't we make an official Lotro Discord? It really comes down to moderation and time. There's also a difference between, say, a player-run Discord and a community-run Discord in terms of expectation. You tend to get a lot more official company reach outs, hey, help me with the CS issue, things like that, in a way that you're not going to do on someone's private, say, kinship Discord. You have it being seen as maybe a vector of attack in a way that it wouldn't be if it was a player-run Discord. Not that it's not a good idea to do, but it means you need to have a team of moderators who are able to watch the Discord essentially 24/7, 365. And the amount of work that it takes to manage and run an official Discord is pretty significant. You could argue, and maybe could argue, that we should have an official Discord and do that work. And that's something that's been on our mind for really about a year and a half or so now. But at the moment, we aren't bringing out an official Discord really because of the amount of additional work that would need to be done. And we've just got other priorities at the moment. And we have a lot of other community-run Discords that are going along pretty well as well. So. If we are hiring, you can find available positions over at daybreakgames.com/careers. How fast will the other races get the avatar update? I don't know. All I can say is not fast. It will probably be quite some time before we would see further work done, but a lot of that is going to depend on how things go, and whether people like it, and what the, sort of what things, how things go in the coming months. But I think it will be a while. It took quite a bit of work around behind the scenes to bring what we were able to bring out. It was kind of done on the margins over a longer period of time. And so I would expect this further work to also be done in that same nature, which means the timetable would be a little bit longer in scope and somewhat nebulous at this point. Just so you know, that drenched horse really bugs me. I really want it fixed. I really want it fixed. I'm with you on that one. Yeah. Why not endorse a community-made Discord? Because I don't think we want to pick winners. I think I would prefer that everyone get the opportunity to make their own Discord, and the best one will win, as it were. And there's more than one winner anyway, so it's not like you've got, only one. But I think the idea of endorsing another Discord is not something we'd want to do. Now, we do that by proxy, essentially, based on the Discords that we do occasionally post in. Discords that we do occasionally post in, by the nature of us posting there, tend to perhaps raise in stature a little bit. So, I don't want to dismiss that as a concept either. All right, so what I'm showing off here, just so everyone knows, what I'm showing off here is things that you'll be getting during the upcoming anniversary event. And I'm just going to pop a bunch of things in rather than do it one at a time. We've got a bunch of banners that you can take a look at. We've got, this one's cool, explosive fireworks crate. What we've got here. We've got a lamp post we can put in. go. And I'll head in just a little bit too, but let's turn this off and just kind of let you see a few of the new items here that are coming. In addition to the cosmetic outfit, mount, and pet. The explosive fireworks crate can be lit. Some of the other fireworks decorations are not. Oh, I could turn up my audio, I suppose, finally here too. There we go. And it's got a bit of a cooldown timer on it. Alright, we've got a blue sparkler that's pretty familiar. Some of these banners are on the inside wall, so let me head inside and show off some of that. But you can see we've got, fireworks stands, the streamers and banners, and what have you. There we go. Get inside a house here. So for like the wall, we've got a yellow long banner. And we've got a red banner as well. Let's see, where does this one need to go? We have a 16 years of welcome theme. That would be for the ambient music slot. The explosive fireworks throne. Let me just find a general furniture spot here. So I'm sad to report that the explosive fireworks throne does not explode. You can't use it with fireworks, but it's basically a game of fireworks throne. And let's see, what else did I have? Ceiling. So let me head up real quick. I've got a decent ceiling spot up here. So there we go. And then we've got some streamers, some teal ceiling streamers. I don't know if it's really coming through the greatest in this shot, but you can kind of see it. And then we have green ones there as well. I know I've actually gone long, haven't I? I think I've got... Oh yeah, there we go. Another furniture slot here. And then I'll actually go a few minutes longer. Am I correct that we don't have Tolkien Professor today? Am I correct about that? I think that's true, right? If someone wants to mention it in chat, let me know. And then we have a wall rack here too. So this normally would kind of go against a wall, but I just have it here for now. It's a positional rack to hold fireworks. Unfortunately, the explosive fireworks cake does not, in fact, explode. Sorry. All right, so that is. Oh, and then we got the tri-colored corgi as well. I would also stay tuned. We're going to be doing a giveaway of, I think, some spotted corgis and perhaps even something else in the coming weeks as we begin to celebrate our 16th anniversary. I would also mention that I do have a stream in the works sometime next week, I think. Reason I'm not going to do it the week after or on the anniversary is because I've been called to jury duty, if you can believe it. For the anniversary date itself. Now, I may not actually have to serve on a jury or anything, but I have to go to a courthouse and such that day. So that's sort of where we are on that. All right, let me move over to the avatar update quick. Yes, I'm looking forward to the new forums a lot as well. It's going to be a lot of work and some pain in the butt as we deal with a little bit of trolling and things like that. But it'll be fine. We'll get through it, and it's going to be pretty good. Yes, we do have longer-term plans for better multi-core processor support. I believe that that's part of the launcher and 64-bit client work that's happening. Have I considered for the new forums a place for people to specifically upload screenshots? No, we cannot be an image hosting site. For the most part, for security and other reasons, we can't be the place where you store images long term. They have to be hosted elsewhere. So that would preclude the ability to have an uploaded screenshot section. You can host screenshots all over the place, but uploading them, hosting the actual files from our servers is not something we intend to do. Which anniversary is this one? That would be the 16th. Yes. All right, Corey is not in today, so I'm going to go a little longer then. Are we still open to allowing other streamers to stream on LotraStream? For sure. Our calendar is pretty busy, and especially during some of the most desirable time slots. But take a look at the schedule. We do have plenty of time open, and if you know how to stream, and you're interested in doing a show on LotraStream, get in touch with me. We'll make that happen. So you can kind of, I am aware that some players have found some workarounds on the old forums to get across our prohibition on attachments and storage. That'll be going away with the new forums, I hope. All right, well, hey, I think we're caught up. So let's do that. I went and just created some general characters here, and then I'll go into some of the specifics as well. And just take a look at some of the characters that I created last night on Bullroar. We have a much wider variety of faces and body types and styles, hairs. And there, I saw Elda Lith actually put together a particularly good stream last night from Bullroar. So if you really want to deep dive into the Avatar update, you can. I will move into a new character here. So first thing to note, this is just for the race of men. We have talked about what else we're going to do in the future, but I'm not going to repeat that here. Another thing you'll see, I'm going to give you the quick overview. Look on the column on the right here, the customize. You can see that not only do we have a whole bunch more options, but we also have a whole bunch more sliders. Brow outer height, outer scale, cheek snarl, cheek scale, cheekbone, ear height, ear separation, rotation, scale, nose, same basic thing, mouth, same basic thing, eyes, same basic things, scales and lids and separation and height. And so just a ton of options. We've got also 11 presets. This is something that we have not done previously, but you can kind of give yourself a base. And like usual, if there's something you like let's say you particularly like this head, you can lock into it and even randomize a little bit and figure out, okay, well, I like that facial style. I don't necessarily. And then you can keep randomizing really until you get kind of what you're looking for here. Have a lot more options related to skin color, in addition to like the basic values. None of the values that currently exist in terms of color values have been removed or anything. We just have widened it up by quite a bit. The body type slider is interesting as well. Now, this is a little, you'll get used to it. Rather than say checkboxes, it's sort of a slide based on top and bottom. Oh, this head width's not body type. Like sort of lower body skinniness and broadness. And so along the lines here, you can just kind of see that depending on where you choose to set it, you can, you know, have a lot more adjustment as to what you want. So you could see, like, even, it's fairly subtle, but you can even see, like, on the cheekbones there, that you have quite a bit of options. Now, we didn't go super crazy with it. You know, you have to try to find some level of parameters here, but we have about as wide a set of parameters as we felt we could support. So perhaps if, you know, yeah, I mean, even nostril height there, right? Some of this is not going to even be that noticeable. Like, can you tell the difference between chin width there? Not really. But that's because of the beard. All right, let me real quick look at our chat. Yes, you can go to a barber and change existing characters with the new options. We expect the barber to be quite busy, frankly, for these first couple of weeks once update 35.1 comes out. What you're seeing on Bull Roar right now is intending to come out in the near future. Stay tuned for a downtime notice, but it is currently set, and I haven't seen anything indicating otherwise, that it should roll out with our anniversary patch here, potentially as soon as middle of next week. And then that'll also be the anniversary itemization, the anniversary free gifts. I can actually mention the free gifts. I haven't done that yet before I go. And all that. So that should be 35.1 next week. Yes, we did detach the options. Like if you go to the existing character select screen and you pick whether you're from Bree or Rohan or something, there's some presets that adjust based on that. We're removing that, but none of the looks are gone. You can remake the looks, but instead we're just giving you more choice over how you want your character to look. And there is also quite a bit more options in terms of age. I don't know if I can really... Where did I find that now? Where is that? Yeah, wrinkles. You can adjust really how wizened your character is. We have extra details as well, some of which are noticeable, some are not. Can turn on or off stubble. I think we have maybe just a little bit more work that we'll be doing there. New options for facial hair in addition to the old ones. But really, let me check out some of these new hairstyles. And actually, let me change my hair color a bit too. All right, starting all the way up the top for 58. We have some kind of longer curly styles for both for either gender that we have available. And then, all the existing ones are there as well. Your existing character will largely not change, although a few of the textures have been updated. So there may be a few textures. The other thing that's worth mentioning here is that the avatar update visible checkbox will be going away for the race of men with update 35.1. We'll hear, hopefully, from people who are particular users of deselecting the avatar update visible checkbox. That really predates to about 2017, 2018, when we did an avatar update, and some people wanted to keep their existing avatars, and we made that as an option. That's still going to be an option for all of the races in the game except for the race of men. That's being removed here with update 35.1 because it can no longer be supported by this new avatar update work that's being done. Theoretically, in the future, as we roll this out to other races, we will have to revisit the checkbox for those races as well. But the intention is that it's largely legacy at this point, and we don't intend to support it. But if you're freaking out upon hearing that, because you're like, no, I want it for my elf, one, hopefully we'll we'll be able to make changes so that you'll be happy with the new avatar update. But it ain't coming anytime soon. You'll be having that checkbox for your elf for a long time to come, I think, before we get to it. But with the race of men here, we got this happening here in the near future. So, all right, let me move over to chat. Let me see. Let me go real quick in game. There's a couple of items I forgot to bring up. I was going to do before the end of the show. Yes, the barbers are going to be very, very, very busy, I think. None of the old character options are going away. To a question about can we have the old character options for those who don't want the new ones? Yes, they currently exist and will continue to exist. The only thing that won't exist is the avatar update visible checkbox from like 2017. Maybe early 2018, something like that. And that'll be just for the race of men. But yes, the intention is to bring this out to the other races in the game. It's just a long process. We don't have an estimate on when the work might be able to get done nor when it would be released. So, yes, but is the answer to that. It's going to be a while. Will we default to the old avatar update? No, you will continue to default to the new avatar update. That's the way it works now. It's the way it's worked for the past 5 or so years. You had to opt into the old avatar update by deselecting the checkbox. And that's how it'll work moving forward, with the exception of the race of men who don't have the option because it no longer functions. No. Get wrecked. Can I explain the Warden battle prep animation? It sounds like we have a bug on Bullroar about that. Hopefully the QA team will be able to take a look at it and address it. Alright, so before I take off, I realized I hadn't yet gotten to the anniversary gifts. So, when you log in after 10 a.m. Eastern on the 20th, and if that changes, we'll let you know, you will be able to get the 16-year gift box, and that will run... Let me check my notes here. What do I have that running through? The gift will be available until 3 a.m. Eastern on April 1st of 2024. So you'll be able to log in starting at 10 a.m. next Thursday and basically have all year to pick up your 16th anniversary gift. If you picked up the 15th anniversary gift last year, you will get the 16th anniversary gift this year. Remember that the anniversary gifts are not based on necessarily the length of time that your account has been active, but rather whether or not you acquired the previous year's gift. So anyone who picked up the 15th year gift last year will get the 16th this year. If, because you didn't log in some year or something like that, you're behind, you will still be behind. It's based on active login. Has been since, what, the 8th or ninth year. The anniversary event is set to run through May 10th, being shut off at 3 a.m. Eastern on the 11th. We don't have new events for the anniversary event this year, but we do have a lot of itemization that you saw quite a bit of today. All right, so now let's get to the gift box. 16-year gift box. I am opening it up here. It comes with a portrait frame, as expected. It comes with Mighty Ram fireworks. Let me launch those off. I think maybe my ceiling is causing me problems. I don't think I see what I'm supposed to see. Let me head outside and see if that helps. All right. Let's see. There was one other thing, though, too. Where am I finding my... Give me a quick second. Yeah, a title. A title of Illuminator as well. I don't know if my... I think it just auto-grants. I don't think it's giving you an item this year. Let's see. But well, I'm not seeing it right now, but it'll give you a title of Illuminator. It's probably because I'm on an admin in a weird state here, which is why it's not working. But you will get a title of Illuminator, or if you are a monster player, you're going to get a title of... Let me double check the name. Extinguisher. Yes. So the monster players also have a 16-year gift box, and that'll include the Ram fireworks, a 16-year portrait frame, plus 5% attack damage times 5 potions for the monster player box, and the title of Extinguisher. And all the free peoples will get the Ram fireworks, a 16-year portrait frame, and the title of Illuminator. So that is the freebie, and that is going to, I think, pretty much wrap it up with the show. Let me do one last look at chat here before we wrap things up. A fireworks carry-all? That would be a good idea. I would like to see that. Do we get free Valars again? Or was that a big one-off offer? That was a big one-off offer. I would imagine, in general, every anniversary is a big anniversary. But clearly there's a little more import on things like a 10th anniversary or a 15th anniversary or probably our upcoming 20th anniversary. So some of the, our willingness to be super generous depends a little bit on the nature of the celebration that's happening. And while this is a really nice anniversary, we are not doing like the kind of big giveaway and promo campaign that we did for the 15th anniversary one. No, there are no such things that I'm aware of account anniversaries. I mean, it depends how you want to define that term, I suppose. But the game tracks based on last item received. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up then, everyone. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you joining me here for Court of the Rings. We're live every Friday at noon Eastern on twitch.tv/LotraStream. The archives go up on YouTube and Facebook afterwards. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for checking out Bull Roar. Bull Roar, by the way, is open into Saturday morning this time since we got started later. It's going to run until noon Eastern on Saturdays. You kind of get a rare weekend start of the weekend, at least Bull Roar session if you are interested. And please do get us your feedback on Gwathanrost, the new raid, the Avatar update, and anything else that is on your mind. All right, have a great day, everyone. Hope you have a great Lotra weekend, and I'll talk to you next week. Have fun.